All right, welcome back to the Comparing Clipboards podcast. I'm your host, Luke Lewis, here with my co-host, Erica Chapa. Chapa, how you doing on this Monday?
Doing well. How are you doing, Luke?
I'm good. I am very excited to talk to our guests today. We're here with Coach Polding. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for being with us. So, for all our listeners, let's go ahead and introduce our guest here. So, he has quite the interesting resume. So, you coached college football at Crown College as an assistant. You also have coached 5 years as the head boys soccer coach at Mayer Lutheran High School, right? Correct? You also were the assistant boys basketball coach for 2 years, and the current head softball coach, as well as the assistant girls basketball coach. You played college football at Crown College, where you went on to coach, and you played soccer at Bethel University, where you were on the senior leadership team for both and 2-year captain. Back to the coaching side of it, you were voted the 2019 Section Coach of the Year, and you have quite the education in coaching, which absolutely blew me away. You have your master's in coaching and athletic administration with an emphasis in sports psych, and soon to have your second master's, I believe you said in the spring, in executive coaching and consolation. That's awesome. I remember my favorite class in college is my sports psych class, so I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. To go ahead and get into our first question here, just straight up, what gave you such a passion for coaching, and when did you know that you wanted to further pursue it?
As you lay out my educational background, the undergrad part of it, at least the first probably 3 years, I majored in playing my college sport. I had no idea what I wanted to do. It was that and take some classes and bounce around and try and figure it out. And so as I kind of went through undergrad, coaching just kind of seemed like the natural progression. Like, okay, I love playing sports. I'm obviously not going to do anything beyond this section of college. What do I do next? How do you get into this? How do you make money doing sports still? And so coaching just kind of, at that point, that's all it was how do I stay involved with sport and get paid to do something I enjoy. Mm-hmm. As I kind of got into it and understanding what coaching was, how you do it well, what separates one coach from another, just the different small things beyond just the sport you're coaching, that's when the passion part really started to kick in. Mm-hmm. That's when it's like, oh, okay, this can really be something powerful. This is something where, now you're not just, hey kid, here's how you throw something. It's, hey, here's a skill you can take and use for the rest of your life. Here's easily the most impactful experiences for me as a coach are those moments that have nothing to do with the sport. And I think those things are why I kind of got into it, is that kid who doesn't have anybody else who's rooting for them, doesn't have anybody else who's told them what their value is and how big it is outside of just what you provide within a sport. And that's where the master's level work started really kicking in. It was, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the impact I want to leave. This is the job I want to do. How do I do it really well? How do I maximize what I want to do with it? Who are the people who do this at a high level? And maybe it's not just within sport, but like, who are the thought leaders on how you make an impact? Mm-hmm. And I just went and started following them, and how do I do this? What's the next step? And so that kind of led into the master's work, and yeah, I don't know. I love it, man. There's
Yeah.
no other way. And despite everything else, I love it. That's how you get into it. You
Yeah.
have to love it.
And what you said about, those little moments, I think is what really gets people into it. Because like when I first started coaching, it was just kind of, oh yeah, I'll help out at a practice. And then, you help somebody and you see that it worked and it clicked and you're just like, oh my God, that was awesome. Like, oh my God, I just taught a girl how to set. I just taught a girl how to block. Right. And you got to see it happen and it's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that coaching with Chapa a lot, it's not just my favorite to see the kid click. It's my favorite to see Chapa see the kid click, because she just screams, yes, like that's what I'm talking about. And Chapa, I'll hand it off to you. Chapa is like, that's just such an awesome feeling.
Well, yeah. And it's like, I mean, there's the part where you do something and you're like, okay, I hope this works, like we'll see. And then the kid gets it and you're like, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And it wasn't even me, like the kid got it. It was like, I guess I can kind of do this. So I'm thinking when you're saying all this, like, right, but you coach multiple sports. So you bring like different things to different sports. And I'm sure, like, I mean, I don't even really know how to do it. I played soccer growing up. Like I grew up with my brother playing baseball. I played volleyball eventually and basketball, but I'm not confident that I can coach any sport. Like I played soccer forever and I don't feel great about coaching it, but I'm also like, I'm a psych major. So I have this like part of the game that's like what we talk about is volleyball is a game of life. Like whoever you are out on the court, that's probably who you are as a real person. Like your true colors will probably come somehow. And that's as a player and a coach or whatever your role is. So with that in mind, like what coaching concepts do you bring with you to different sports?
I love that you're a psych major. To me, it's the absolute bottom line is you have to win their heart first before you can teach them anything. You'll never be impactful as a coach if you can't win the kid's heart. You can't. Yeah, I don't care how good a coach you are, how good a players you are. You're not gonna win what matters. At least in my book, what matters. You're not gonna win in those categories without winning their heart first, and they're not gonna trust you until you win their heart. And so the psychology part of it, it's tapping into that. That is the connective piece is, okay, how do I go in no matter the scenario and win their heart? That is the thing that matters. And from there, you pick up on X's and O's. I mean, you don't have to be able to play the sport to coach it, in my opinion. I mean, like, I never played softball.
Right.
I still, when I step out on that field, they know, one, that I care about them more as a person than I ever will as a softball player, and two, that I'm going to be excited and passionate and enthusiastic about being out there. So get on board. Let's go. Come out on this field and we're going to compete. We're going to work hard. And I think those concepts are universal as well, that how you frame competition, how you frame what you're looking for in your athletes, those character traits, those things are applicable to all the whatever sport you're coaching. And if you can go out there and inspire that enthusiasm and create a culture that says, I want to be a part of something bigger than myself, man, I mean, it doesn't matter the sport. You're gonna have fun, but you're gonna be successful too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's played out that way for me as well.
Yeah, and it's the whole having passion and getting excited. Like nobody really likes playing for a coach that clearly doesn't want to be there, right? Like everybody, you as a coach, your kids feed off of your excitement and your enthusiasm. And
sure.
that's one thing I love about coaching with Erica is just like you can feel her like excitement in the gym. Like when the kid sees that you are more excited about them getting better than they are,
Yeah.
that just makes them want to get better.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like clearly one thing that is really important to you is connecting with your athletes, and I totally agree with that. And I just want to know, you know, what do you think is the best way to connect with your athletes?
I think authenticity is for sure the number one thing that you have to start with. They have to know that when you say you care about them, you actually mean that you care about them. It can't be fake. They'll see right through it, and then you've lost them at that point. So being authentic, and you know, I've had times with sports where I'm like, guys, look, you're just gonna have to get after it today. This is gonna. I don't love where our energy's at. I don't love um, where our work ethic's at, and I know that you guys love when we have fun and have like real competitive but fun practices. Today isn't going to be one of those days because you guys aren't at that place. We got to go and just get after it today. And they know when I step on the field or the court or whatever, they know where we're at. I'm going to straight up with them at the beginning. And guys, here's where we're at today. Girls, here's where we're at today. And this is where we're going to go. And having that authenticity and that they can see, I'm not going to hide my emotions from them. I'm not going to hide where I'm at. I'm not going to hide what I'm thinking. And uh, I think as a coach, if you're willing to step into that space first, where you say, guys, look, I had a real hard day today and it sucked. And this is why. And, or like for me, I think some of the most powerful experiences are we with soccer we did this thing we called it Wisdom Wednesdays. Not that I'm some crazy wise guy or anything, but I would drop little pieces of things that I had learned to try and help them, and typically those things were things I had done wrong in my life. I had gone the wrong way. I had done the wrong thing. I had had the hard experience. I had taken the difficult, stupid road. And it's like, look, this is where this will lead because I've been there. And then all of a sudden, when they know that you're authentic and you're not willing to hide from what you've experienced and what you're feeling and what your emotions are, I feel like the relation component gets real strong at that point because they know they can come to you with whatever's going on and just be honest about it, and you're not going to judge them because you've been there. They're not gonna feel awkward because you've been there. You've experienced what that feels like, and that creating that comfort zone where they can just be honest. To me, that the relationship component comes naturally within that, then, because then you start to have those talks that are about way bigger than sport. And when they know that you care about them in that way, I think that's when it gets special. And I had a kid. Um, I had cancer, and went through chemo and did all of that myself. And I had a kid uh, who had been through. He was like really, really like deep. I don't know how to say this. Really deeply diabetic. That sounds ridiculous, but he was heavily affected by his diabetes, right? And those aren't the same two things, but me saying, hey, I've been through this difficulty, this health issue, this thing that was scary and could have killed me, and all these different, all the emotions that go with that. That kid was able to come to me with his diabetes and just be honest. And he ended, man, I'm gonna get emotional talking about it. He came up to me And he's like, no coach I've ever had has made this okay. Like it's always been something where I tell him up front, hey, I have this big time issue with diabetes. My blood sugar is a very serious thing. And from the reaction he's always got is, okay. And it's almost like this piece of, I have to manage this. And when I was able to share my story, he could come to me and be like, I actually feel heard. I feel like you know what I'm experiencing, and you actually care that this is impacting my whole life, not just that you have to carry sugar packets in the med kit to each game. And he I mean, he had a point after he played for me where he had a very serious reaction and ended up in the hospital almost dying, and he was in a coma for like 2 weeks. And when he woke up from his coma, the very first words he said is, where's coach? I need to talk to him. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, like, you talk
hard.
about a relational component that hits hard, you know? So it's being willing. It's a long story, very much longer, on a pretty simple question, honestly. The relational component comes from being willing to be honest with who you are as a person, as the coach, and create that space for them to be honest with who they are.
Heck
and where they're at.
Yeah, like that reminds me of just the whole, like, it's a game of life kind of thing. Like, you will come out whoever you are. And I think it's important, like, damn, everything you just said, I'm thinking about it as, like, as a coach, you have this, like, players look at you, they could be intimidated by you, or some of them are just gonna, like, try to answer correctly just to please you, like, tell you what you want to hear, even if they're not sure. But like what you said makes me think, like, it's almost like as a coach, yeah, you know your role, this is your team, and you can have a power trip about it, or you can, like, truly be the leader of your team by, like, leading by example and, like, teaching them to be vulnerable. I feel like that's huge. I don't know, Luke, what do you think about that?
I mean, I love it. Like, you know, we always talk about how, oh, you know, we have the future of America. Like, obviously, you know, we coach in a small town. Like, obviously we're not speaking to hundreds of thousands of kids every day, but we're still, as coaches, it's one of our roles that, you know, we're helping mold these kids into the people that they're going to be. And, you know, for example, you know, people hear about what you do. That's going to, one day when they're an adult, they're going to be the person for somebody else that you were for them. And it's just a, you know, a constant reaction to people caring about each other. And we all know, as like a team, you know, if you're just a bunch of individual little pods and not all together, not trusting each other, you're going to be pretty limited. And also one thing that I think is really big about that is, you know, that stuff isn't a secret. Like, that kid's not going to be a secret about, you know, he's going to tell other people, like, you know, coach means a lot to me. And not that that's why you do it, but there's eventually kids are going to say, hey, this guy cares about me. Yeah. He cares about us. And that's when you get a lot less doubt in the kids with you. Like, you know what? No, he cares about us. He's not just making us do this. Like, he cares about us outside of volleyball or soccer or football or whatever it may be. He's here to help us. And I think that, I know, you know, some people want to hear, oh, like, how do I make my kids do better than this? How do I make my team a better passing team? How do we serve better? How do we pitch better? How do we hit better? Well, let's start with getting the kids to buy into you and trust you. Yeah. Because if they don't trust you, they're probably not going to listen to you. It's not just a straight up, the kids aren't going to have your respect right away, day one. And gaining their trust like that is big. So I loved all of it. And I know Chapa and I totally agree with you, because I think we try to connect with our kids a lot too. Right? Would you agree with that, Chapa?
Well, yeah, coach, like just going way back to the beginning when you said you have to win their hearts over first, right? And like, I totally get that. And from experience, I'm like, as a player and coach, it's like, okay, you have to connect with, like, each player is different, right? Like, you got to coach kids differently. That's just how it works. Not unfortunately, but somehow it's like, you still have to remain like authentic, and you can't always tell a kid just what they want to hear, right?
Yeah.
So I know for you personally, I know, like, comes with your experience and your background and education and everything. So I know, like, when you say this, I know you have a really good, like, insight on this. So what should people know about coaching from a psychology standpoint? Because I'm interested, and I know, like, I always say, like, the brain is so powerful. And I think as a coach, like, you have a gift with, like, that understanding.
I think from, you know, one thing is dealing with the styles of motivation. I mean, you're never going to get as much out of extrinsic as intrinsic. If you can hit on intrinsic, and to me, that's where connecting with the heart makes such a huge difference, because if a kid knows that you're going to breathe life into them all the time, and it's not a like giving them what they want, or listen, telling them what they want to hear. Sometimes it's getting after a kid.
Yeah.
And because you've built that relationship, and I had players, I mean, you guys know, you understand the players that you can push and the players that you come alongside.
Yes.
And it's not that you care more for one or the other, but it's just a different way of dealing with them. And I shouldn't say dealing with them. That sounds terrible. It's a different way of coaching them.
Yeah.
And I have guys who, they know, like, we built that relationship, and I've said, I'll yell from the sideline, "Hey, you got to get going. We need you to play right now.
Yes.
What are you doing? Let's go." And that kid's motivated by that, but there's other kids who you can't say that to. And so I guess two things: breaking down how they're motivated psychologically. Do they need a buddy? Do they need the hard nosed, like, I need somebody to challenge me? Am I motivated by competition, or am I motivated by camaraderie? Am I motivated by toughness, or by teammates? Like, if you go to a kid and say, "Hey, you're not playing physical right now, you need to get after it." Well, I'm saying that because I know that kid's motivated in a way that he when you say something like that, he inherently will take it in as he's saying I'm soft. He's saying I'm not tough. And I'm gonna let my ego just roar and go get after it, because my ego is too strong to hear I'm soft, and so I gotta go just get after it to prove my ego right. And then there's the other kid who's it's teammates, or it's the camaraderie, or it's the, hey, that guy messed with my teammate. Now I'm a super compassionate person. That's my character trait. So now now you're messing with my family, and I'm about to take care of business now because you're messing with my family. I don't care if you come at me. That's not going to get me going. But if I hear you're messing with my family, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
I think understanding that if you as a coach can tap on whatever way they're intrinsically motivated, then you're going to be that much better, because they're going to push themselves. At that point, they're going to push themselves harder, and you're going to get more athletically out of that than you ever will by just being, you see it all the time in, like, the big time, like, say it's like the NFL, because it's visible. Okay, he's a screaming coach. He's a player's coach. He's a a thinker, whatever mode you want to break it down into. It's like, we should be all of that. It depends on the kid, not on us.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to bend to us. Why? How are we going to be successful if we expect them to do that? No, it's our job to coach them up, not their job to coach us up.
Yeah. And, I got it.
So if you can tap.
Oh, sorry. I totally interrupted
Go
you.
ahead.
One thing.
My bad. No, there's a delay.
Yeah, it's okay. We got a little delay, but we can get through it.
Yeah.
One thing that, you said this and this instantly came to my mind, and I got this kid's permission to use his name, so I will. Chapa knows him very well too. He's on my boys volleyball team, is Jose. I've coached Jose for, I don't want to say 2 years, but like a year and a half, because we kind of got our season cut short. But Jose is that perfect example of, he kind of needs someone to call him out a little bit. Like, he needs it a little rough, like a little tougher on him, because, some kids, you're saying that, we not treat them differently, but some kids, it's a better way to connect with them and get them to understand. There's some kids that need you to just pull them aside one-on-one and say, hey, what's going on? What's up? Like, okay, well, we got to get right.
Yeah.
Jose is someone that I can specifically remember one thing this year. He was a returner, and we were doing conditioning, and I didn't think he was doing his best. And, he's one of our captains, and I kind of called him out in front of everybody. And I know Jose, and I know that's what works with him. Yeah. And instead of mentally shutting down, like some kids would if I were to call them out in front of everybody, Jose came up to me in a water break and said, Coach, my bad. I got to be better than that. I will be better. I'm sorry. And then absolutely locked in the rest of practice. But there's kids that if I were to take that same approach with them, they're mentally shutting down. I'm getting nothing out of them. And it's important to understand. And it's important to understand that.
Yeah.
The cool thing about sorry.
No, my bad. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, at least in my experience, those kids like a Jose, when they are the kid that you can call out athletically, a lot of times off the court, that's when you can make the biggest impact, because they're motivated by this idea of, I have to achieve, I have to be tough, I have to be the guy. And then off the court, it's like they need somebody to be like, hey, you know what? It's okay to just be you. You aren't defined by what you achieve. I expect a lot out of you because I know you can handle it and I know you're capable, but it's because it's you. It's not because I want to see a certain achievement. I want to see you be your best. And it's all it, and then that kid, you have that conversation like, hey, I just want to know what home's like. Like, are you doing well? Is school okay? How, and teenage boys, you can always rely on, hey man, how's that girlfriend? You treating her right? You doing things the right way? Come on, don't be slipping. Stuff like that. You can always depend on that. That's an easy conversation. But it's that kind of kid that I have at least experienced as the kid who sometimes needs us the most to come alongside of them off the court and be like, hey, I'm here for you in everything. Like when you don't have to always be the tough guy with me. On the court, I want you to get after it. Off the court, let's be honest with each other with where you're at. And those kids, man, when that clicks for them, that you're about them and they have a place to just be themselves without having to achieve something or without having to be tough, woo, man, that's a special relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you said something that it made me smile because one person I just love reading his quotes. I know this isn't exactly a hole in the wall kind of a person, like everybody knows this guy, but John Wooden, I just read a book on his, pyramid of success. And one of it, John Wooden. Yeah. Who's that guy? Yeah. And one of his big things that he learned that he changed over his career was, stop saying, we got to be better than them. How about instead of that, let's just be our best selves. Like, let's give our best effort. Because then you keep asking the kids, like, are you giving me your best? Are you being the best that you can be right now? And they know, even if they deny it, if you're not working as hard as you can. And striving to be your best self every day, not just for the kids, but us. Sometimes I have to ask myself, am I doing my best to make them better right now? And I have to check myself. And if I'm not giving it 100%, I need to back up and reevaluate and get after it a different way. But I absolutely love that. Kind of pivoting a little bit here.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think it's interesting and really important for us as coaches that when we talk about being your best, that we need to understand that's not a steady climb.
Yep.
That's a up and down and up and down. Like, what's your best today?
Yeah.
Like, maybe you only got 3 hours of sleep last night because you had a final. Maybe stuff's tough at home. Maybe something crazy happened. And where's your best at today? It may not be yesterday's best. You might not be as good as then. You might not be as good as tomorrow, but just give me where's your peak today? How can I get you there? And let's compete at that level. That to me is important, that kids understand, and we understand, that our best is not this steady climb. It's a up and down. It kind of bounces all over the map as to where you're at. And so if you can be honest with kids about that too, give me, what is your best today? What is today's best? Give me that.
Heck yeah.
Don't give me yesterday, because that's gone. You can't deal with yesterday. As soon as that opportunity is gone, it's gone. You can't change that. You need to make the next play. You need to move forward with your thinking. You need to be living in the here and now, and what can you do now to get better, and not thinking about anything else. When we step on that court, when we step on that field, it's sanctuary time. You step on there and everything else gets to disappear. You bring your best that you got today, and let's get after it. That to me is, sorry, I got a little in coaching mode there.
Hey, that's what this is about.
God, yeah.
No, but I think it's important that we as coaches are okay with the fact that kids, that their best that day might not be as high as we know they can play, but maybe it's all they got that day. Maybe they're giving us only what they got that day. So I think that's a cool spot to live in if kids know that, and it's easier to achieve too.
It's huge because I also feel like like they say, comparison is the thief of all joy. And that's just like, it's annoying to say, but right. Like, you could be like, I had a great practice and I had a great game, like 2 games last week. Like, I did awesome. But part of getting better is like, I feel like showing up to practice, being not hot and being like, I know I was better yesterday. I know I was better last week. And then being like, but I'm okay. Like, I'm still better and I'm getting better. Like, getting over that little part is like, okay, you just got 1% better just by like, get over it. You're not going to be able to recreate that whole game every practice. You got to move on. And like, failing is part of getting better. And I know that's cheesy, but like,
it's true.
If you're not willing to fail, what are you scared of?
Well, in those days when you're down are the days you see the biggest growth. I mean, that's when it really clicks. Can you push yourself when it's hard, when life sucks, when you got nothing in the tank? Can you come with it then? That's when you really see that growth. because now you're everybody wants to focus on the ceiling. How good can I be? How high can I get? How high can I achieve? How far can you bring your basement up? How far can you bring the bottom when you're at your worst? How far can you bring that up?
I
Because
like
now all of a
that.
sudden you've
I
gotten
love
way better
that.
as a, that's
Yeah.
if you can bring a kid's basement up on the worst day, all of a sudden now they're growing. Now that's real growth. If you can, like you said, if you can grow through failure, if you can grow through the tough stuff, then you're getting somewhere. Now you really got a mindset that's getting tough to beat. Because now one thing
Mm-hmm.
goes wrong in a game and you're not broke. You bounce right back.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm back in it. Next play. That one's gone. I dealt with it. I'm on to the next one, and I'm gonna win the next one. And I'm gonna win the next one. And I'm just gonna keep building.
Yeah, and one thing
That's
one thing that really that just made so much sense to me, because you're coaching kids, you're not coaching robots. Like,
Yeah.
they have, if you have a game that day, that's 2 hours out of they probably just did other things for the previous 12. Like, they are not a robot just sitting there waiting to work. Like, we coach high schoolers. Maybe they had a teacher that was rude to them today, or maybe they are going through some bullying at school or something. Like, they can't just take that out of their brain. Like, they're kids, they're still learning. Like, and I love what you said about raise their basement, because the basement days are going to happen. Not everybody is going to be on their roof every day. Like, you're going to have kids that had bad days, and you still have a game. You can't postpone the game because your best player, it doesn't even have to be your best player, but had a bad day. Like, what are you going to get out of them on their worst day? And
Heck yeah.
I love that. And
Yeah.
one thing I also want to ask next is, you're talking about how to connect with these kids. How do you make adjustments from coaching high school and college and even youth sports? Like, how do you change from different levels?
I think with it the compete level changes. That's probably the biggest thing. Like, I have a 7-year-old daughter. I coach her in softball, and when I'm out with her team, it's all fun. I'm not getting after it, but it's your tone of voice changes. It's, hey, I know you got this. Listen to me. Now I want you to believe, like, I know you can hit that ball. I know you can catch that ball. I know you can make that throw. I know you can do that. And I want you to know, and you don't say it, but the vibe they get is, dang, he really believes in me. If he thinks I can do it and he's the coach, then maybe I can do it. And it might only work one time, but for that one time they did it. And now they know they can build on that. That's little kids. High school kids, I think each level, it just magnifies how much intensity you can bring to that moment. It's instead of like a like with my daughter's team, it's a smile. It's a, come on, I know you can. And in high school, it's maybe a, hey, come on, I know you can. Let's go. And then you get to college, and it's like, dude, go. Like, come on. Like, it's just that level changes, and I think the depth of the relationship changes too. That's really where the key to me is with the little kids. Maybe it's, hey, how was your day? Oh, it was great. I played kickball at recess. Cool, man. That's awesome. Happy for you. With a high school kid, it's like, hey, how was your day? My best friend was really mean to me today, and we're not talking the rest of the day. Okay, I want to be there for you through it, and let me know if you want to talk. Let me know if you guys want me to sit down with both of you and help you figure it out. Now you get to college and you're talking. I mean, hey man, I'm thinking about marrying this person. What do you think? You think I'm ready? And it's like, it's real life, real life, long
Mhm.
term stuff where you're like, okay, I'm willing to sit with you in that moment and try and help you work through where you're at. You're like, hey, my and for high school and college, it's like, hey, um, my parents just told me they're splitting up, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't feel like I don't feel like I feel any worth. Like, why are they doing this to me? And that, what did I do wrong? How, why did how did I cause this? And those types of conversations, those types of things, we as coaches, if we're looking, we get access to. And it's not that
Mhm.
we're trying to dig in or whatever. It's that we have those kids for such a chunk of time that, like a bus ride could be the most valuable talk a kid's ever had. And
Mhm.
if you invest in those moments, or like, I think back to like my daughter, she would kind of breaking down the levels. My daughter would get home from school, be like, "Hey, you got a softball game tonight?" She's like, "Yes, let's go." But for the next, until like a half hour before the game, she ain't thinking about that. She's thinking about a snack and maybe a cartoon on TV, or getting outside and riding her bike. Like, it's a much shorter time frame that you have to work with. A high school kid work, especially like in the summer, or if you work in a high school, or have or are seeing those kids outside of just your coaching slot, um, you start to see real life if you're really looking for it. And one of the coolest things was, I had a girl. I worked at a middle school before I work at the high school that I coach at now. And in middle school, you know, whenever it was, we had a conversation at one point, and she was a girls basketball player, and I was like, "Hey, you got a game today? You excited?" And she's like, yeah, but nobody really comes, and we're not very good, and whatever." And at that moment, I was like, "Nope, that ain't flying. I'm making that the most. Anytime you got a game, I'm making it the most hype thing in my day, so that you matter,
Mhm.
that that you're way bigger, what you matter, like for real matter." And then we both went to the high school, and every single game she had, whether it was volleyball, which I never coached, uh, basketball, didn't matter. Every single day she had a game, I would see her and be like, "Yo, it's game day," and we high five and like make a big deal out of
Yeah.
it. And then in basketball last year, I mean, like, and I'm not afraid to make a fool of myself. Like, I really don't care. So I'll dance down a hallway yelling "game day" at the top of my lungs and give her a high five. And like, everybody in that school knows there's a girls basketball game that day. Better be hyped for it. Um, you start to see, and that's just a little, like, it's a little thing, but we did this exercise, um, and the head girls basketball coach is outstanding at our school, and I just love working with him. He's so open to investing in things that are bigger than just the game. And so we would do, a lot of this mindset training stuff, a lot of more on the psych side of things. And this girl, uh now graduated, but during basketball season last year, we were doing one of these mindset things, and we were talking about, how do you define your worth? How do where do you get your worth from? What are you, um, what things are you experiencing that are lies to who you are? Like,
Mhm.
you know, you, nobody gets to tell you how much you're worth. You exist, so you're worth. It's that simple. You matter because you're alive. Done. period, over. And she then, we always ask at the end of these things, what did you think? What are you feeling? What are you thinking about? Whatever. And she was like, I just want you to know that you saying game day and giving me a high five was one of the most encouraging things that I had through all of high school. Like, that was one of the coolest things. And I said, I want you to know that you changed my entire coaching trajectory because you said your games didn't matter. And all of a sudden, to me, I'm like, nah, I'm going to make that matter. And that started this thought process of like, these kids really don't think they matter. Well, how come nobody's telling them they matter? How come nobody's telling them what their worth is? How come they're getting fed all this BS about things that are not true about them? Like, why don't they know how much they're worth? And and at her, I mean, just that interplay, that's what kind of thing you can do in high school. That's the difference between a middle school and a high school and a college. In college, you can do that exact same stuff, but then you're talking about kids being away from home, and now that's a whole different ballgame. But I think, again, sorry for being long-winded, but
no worries.
The thing that changes at each level is the the depth of the relationship and the impact that you can make on that kid's life. I think, man, it's such a calling to be a coach. Like, to me, it's like, it's either something you're called to or you're not. And and if you are, then go all in. I mean, go all in. Be exactly, be who you are, and make it okay for kids to be who they are, and don't be afraid to step into a hard spot and just be honest. I don't know. I guess I bring who I am to all the levels, but yeah, I mean, the depth of the relationship is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, your story about it's game day for that girl that wasn't that excited for her game. You know, I have kind of a similar thing with that, but it's kind of funny because not that I wasn't excited, but I had a boy on my volleyball team a couple years ago that he's going to be a senior this year, but I had him as a sophomore, Jermaine. He did that for me almost, where like, I'd be on campus and Jermaine had this thing that he would find me every day on campus if we had a game, and he would go, whoever we're playing, he'd say, Coach, whatever school we're playing, they ain't ready. Let's go. They ain't ready. And then he had this other thing with me that he would do before games. Yeah, he had this thing that he did before games, and he did it at school sometimes. And it sounds so funny, like for anybody that doesn't know Jermaine, but he loves when his curls come out good in his hair. And he'd come up to me before games like,
yeah,
he's like, my curls came in. You know what that means? Like, it's over for them. And like, and then it got to a point where I would see Jermaine and I'd say, did the curls come in today? Or I'd text him like, hey, did your curls come in? You ready? He's like, oh yeah, coach, they're ready. And that it just made game days even better. And I just had to share that. It's so fun that it just makes the experience even better to have that connection.
Well, and that moment gets bigger even, into it. At least in the conversations I've had with kids, because I've tried to pick apart, like, okay, do they actually think the things that I'm doing, like, do they see the bigger purpose behind them? And you saying to Jermaine, hey man, are the curls in? And it's a little thing. It's like just this weird, not weird, it's like just a little droplet, right? But that kid receives that as, I'm noticed. I matter.
Yeah.
He sees me and he notices me, and maybe he doesn't get that anywhere else. We don't know. We never know as coaches what every kid's going through. But man, that's just powerful. That stuff, that's the kind of thing that is the difference. And yeah, it's, you got to be willing to step in and be a little ridiculous, um and just be, make a fool of yourself sometimes, but that matters to those kids. Like,
Yeah.
it's a big deal. I'm sorry if you
Um,
guys are getting some background, because there's a cell phone going off.
It's okay.
um, so obviously you have like so much experience and like you're able to sift through like situations because of what you know. And I mean, obviously I want to say a lot of it is because of your education background. Um, so I want to know what would you say is one of the most valuable things you've learned through your education about coaching, like aside from experiences?
um I think learning how to break down character structure, and understanding where people have gaps and where people are strong. um Learning how to do that, how to identify that, learning how to trust my intuition. um if something doesn't seem right and my gut says it's not right, just being able to be like, something's probably not right. And how to take that feeling, but then ask the questions to get at what the root is. That's something learned for sure. And the motivation theory. I mean, motivation theory is huge in coaching. It's just
Mm,
trying to dig through that is a big one for sure. Just understanding, okay, psychologically, what gets you up, what gets you down, how do you maintain, how do you process goal setting, how do you process um, uh, achievement, how do you, just kind of those types of things. um, the psych side is easily the biggest thing that's played for me. um,
right.
it's a game changer when you can understand, at least in some part, what a
Hmm.
kid is thinking, or how they process information.
Totally. Yeah, totally. So,
Mm.
okay, for personal reasons, give me like your favorite two classes that you took.
Mm. Ooh, that's tough.
I feel like you have a good answer though, because
Man.
like I know that stuff can get super
I
interesting and like totally draw you in.
Yeah, I think the one of one of them was just called Leadership and Transformation. Um, that was the name of the whole class, was Leadership and Transformation. I really like that one. It it's really helped me to like just process things I haven't been able to process before.
Mm,
Um, I think anything that um, is leadership related, um, that has a psychological component, that has like a breaking like, if for people who aren't like jumping into a master's program, if you like watch Brene Brown, watch or listen to Dr. Michael Gervais on Finding Mastery, um, jump on oh, who's the other one? I mean, John Townsend's done a lot of stuff that is really good, and his books are really solid. You know, it, leadership and transformation. Man, you're making me pick two, and I can't do
it's
it.
okay. It's okay. You don't have
Leadership and
to.
transformation. No, no, no. I know. I think the motivation. I can't remember if it was called Understanding Motivation or Motivational Theory.
Yeah.
Um, that was big. I mean, because now it's not just holler and get them excited,
Mm.
or, give them a high five. Here's why.
Yeah.
Here's how they're receiving that information. Here's what you're saying, not your words, but here's what you're saying through your body language, through the way you deliver that message, the way you make eye contact. How are you motivating with those things that you don't think about?
Totally.
That motivational theory was a big one for sure.
Cool. So final question for
Yeah.
you is, what is a final piece of advice you'd give to any other coach?
If you got to pick one piece of advice to give to a coach, what would you say? I know it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It is. Win their heart. I mean, that's what it all comes down to.
Totally.
Win their heart, and don't do it for selfish reasons. Actually try to win their heart for them, not for you.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and I'd kind of like what you said, be real. Like, they'll see straight through you. Like, actually try to win it. Right? That's the kids aren't stupid. They can see fake when it's fake.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and they know if it's about you or if it's about them.
That's so true.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for coming on. I mean, I have to admit, I was going through like all your Instagram posts last night because I thought that they were just so awesome, and watching all the videos and how motivational they are. It was, I mean, sorry if that sounds weird, but it was a lot of fun for me to just go through and read those. But yeah. So.
Well, I'm glad you like them. A lot of them are, yeah. I mean, I try to post stuff that either clicks with me or matters, and I don't know. Yeah. It's social media is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. True.
Seriously though, thank you guys for having me. It was an honor and a pleasure, and I really appreciate it.
Oh,
thank
you so much for being on with us, and also thank you everybody who's continuing to listen. It's great to see a growing crowd, getting more people listening every episode. I know, we're just getting started, but we're committed to getting better, just like we say in this pod. If you haven't followed us on social media, go ahead and give us a follow at Comparing Clipboards Pod on Instagram, Comparing Clips on Twitter. If you don't like social media, all good. You can email us at comparingclipboards@gmail.com. Just so you guys know, we don't know him personally, right? This is the first time that we've really gotten to talk to him. He reached out to us, and we love that. We want to hear from people. You're from Minnesota, correct? Like, that's we're out here in California talking to someone from Minnesota. That's awesome. So if you want to talk to us, or you just want to hear a topic, right, just let us know, and we'll catch you guys later. Stay tuned for our next guest, and we'll keep getting better. Have a good one, guys.